Well, we have a very special edition of Tedtertainment tonight this evening. We have a special guest, Curran Jacobs, director of the documentary For the Love of the Catch. To paint the picture for you just a little bit, he graduated from Owosso High School in 2007, went on to be a standout wrestler at Michigan State University. In fact, was the team captain his junior and senior seasons. After he graduated, he decided to venture out to La La Land and try his hand at acting. Actually made a few appearances on shows like Modern Family and Glee, so it's the real deal here. And we're going to start off talking about his new documentary, though, For the Love of the Catch. It's about wrestling, and to kind of set the stage for our listeners, it really starts at the beginning of wrestling as a true competition, right? And then it just kind of evolved from there. Kind of tell us a little bit about the backstory.
Absolutely. So in England in the 1870s, that's where it began. It was called Catch as Catch Can. It's basically catch any move you can. If you catch an arm, break it. You catch a leg, you break it. You catch a neck, you snap it. And it came over, at the turn of the century to the United States and really took off. Basically, it is professional wrestling. Before WWE, it was a real legitimate sport. And you won by pinning your opponent to their back for 3 seconds or making them tap out with a submission. And these submissions are lethal, man, like neck cracking, bone crunching. It's pretty severe. And a lot of the moves that you see in WWE are actually catch wrestling moves, but it's for entertainment purposes. But it was the biggest sport in the world, right next to boxing, before football, before basketball, before baseball. Wrestling and boxing were the two biggest sports in the world.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that backstory because unless you are into pro fighting, wrestling, all that kind of stuff, most of us probably just see pro wrestling and think of Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage and stuff like that and all the modern stuff. So to actually see the backstory and see how it evolved actually would be really interesting. I wanted to ask you about, so you're a pro fighter. Are you still fighting currently, or what's kind of where are you at in your pro fighting career?
So COVID threw me off completely. I was 1 week away from my second professional fight, and it got shut down. It got shut down, and then I was supposed to fight in Sweden. That got shut down. Third fight was starting to cook up. That got shut down. So that is when we started shooting this documentary, like right in the midst of the pandemic. Didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know if we were going to get it done. Thankfully, we got it done. But no, as of right now, I've kind of taken a back seat competitively, and I'm focusing on film. Other opportunities are starting to spring up because of this documentary. So that's where I'm at with my competitive ventures.
Is it like the UFC circuit or like a lower level circuit, or what kind of were you getting into?
So LFA was where I was starting to live. And then the last fight we were looking at Bellator.
Oh, okay.
So that is where that's left off. I'm kind of teeter-tottering. It's rough. I love to compete, but making films and right. That sort is a lot less painful.
You don't want to mess that face up, right?
Yeah, I need nose surgery. One of my teammates in the UFC right now, Chaos Williams, gave me an uppercut.
Oh boy.
Oh man, and he kind of rearranged cracks a little,
right.
little now and then, but he gave me a good one, man, and I got a photo just like blood just all over my face. It's brutal. Yeah. A few of my teammates are doing very well for themselves in the UFC. Very proud of those guys. Joaquin Buckley is like the most viral knockout. He's the dude that did the backflip, spinning back kick that knocked his opponent out unconscious. Yeah. But those guys are badasses, man. Shout out to Murcielago MMA.
Yeah, I know these guys are going to jump in, but my question kind of piggybacking off of those, what kind of parallels, I guess, do you see between the wrestling that you talked about that came over to the U.S. and modern day UFC? Are they similar,
Oh,
or
man.
are they like actually very different?
I love that you asked this question because we addressed this in the documentary.
Yeah.
You've all heard of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, back in the 1920s, a Japanese catch wrestler worked with his grandpa and helped modify what we know now as Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. It started with a catch wrestler named Maeda. He was from Japan. Badass guy, went undefeated, traveled in a lot of all over the world competing and making a lot of money for himself, taking on all comers. Back in the day with carnivals and such, the strongman traditionally was a catch wrestler that would challenge the public, hey, I'll give you $15 if you can pin or submit me. And people would come up and pay a little fee and, get their butts kicked.
Right.
So, but to answer your question, man, we addressed that in the documentary, how it all started in the 1920s. And the Gracies went on to 1993 for UFC 1, which started it all. Royce Gracie's big victory, showing, ground fighting being a huge element in combat. Whereas before that, it was all, stand up karate and, Steven Seagal, Aikido stuff.
Yep.
They didn't focus on the ground. So, catch wrestling really changed their whole perspective. And Helio Gracie, Royce's father, changed the game with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So that's kind of where it started and where we are now.
So why did you feel the need to kind of tell this story of catch wrestling? Am I right that it was, you kind of had some of that a part of your wrestling style way back in the day, or was there something else that kind of drew you to this whole story and wanted you to make this whole story?
Yeah, my close friend and mentor, Randy the Natural Couture, UFC legend, he introduced catch wrestling to me back in 2014. I had no idea what it was. And when I started finding more about the history, Randy introduced me to a guy named Mike Chapman. He's the world's leading wrestling author and historian in the sport. And he also created the Dan Hodge Trophy, which is like the Heisman Trophy for wrestlers. And he really started to dive into the history. And I was like, holy shit. How did I not know this? I wrestled D1 for 5 years. Most of my D1 buddies had no idea who Frank Gotch was, who Martin Farmer Burns was. I had no idea that in 1911, when Comiskey Park was just a year old, that it had 30,000 fans watching two guys wrestle for 2 hours. Like, legit.
Holy smokes.
Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? In 1920, two veterans of World War I wrestled at a sold-out Madison Square Garden. And it was the last legit world championship in wrestling before it turned into, pro wrestling with like the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, where promoters were like, look, audiences don't want to watch guys, hug it out for 2 hours. They want an exciting show, and we want to be able to bring them back. So that's how they started coming up with characters and storylines and Flash.
Yeah.
But I kind of got into it with Gordon Ryan, who is regarded as the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler in the world. And he's pretty badass. He's a phenomenal grappler. And after I won the world championship in catch wrestling in 2018, I kind of took that momentum and started being a pro wrestler. Like, you suck, you take me on, I'll whoop you. And it caught on. And I started making a ton of videos, and a filmmaker and producer started watching them. And he was like, yo, if you're going to make all these videos, why don't you make something worthwhile and do a film on this history? Because it's something that would fascinate me, and I know it would fascinate a bunch of other people. So DJ Perry with Collective Development Incorporated, got the ball rolling, and here we are.
Wow, outstanding. Well, I know one thing. I want to change my name to Chaos Fattel. I love that nickname right there. So from now on, just address me as Chaos.
He's
But
chaotic, man. I tell you, he's a beast.
Right.
Scary.
I do want to. You mentioned DJ Perry, and
Yep.
also a good friend of mine, another Corunna graduate. You know, the three of us graduated from Corunna High School. Don't hold that against us. But Tony Hornis, I know Tony's in the filmmaking business. How important has he been as an influence to help you get rolling, since you're still a relatively young guy?
Crucial. This documentary wouldn't have been able to have been made without him, because we shot this through his nonprofit, the Red, White, and Blue Project, that honors our veterans and their stories. And without that, it wouldn't have happened. Without Tony Hornis, without DJ Perry, this film wouldn't have been made. And our veterans are tied in with the history of wrestling in a way that I don't think a lot of people, they don't know. So to be able to honor our veterans in this film and tell the rich history of wrestling and how it ties in with our society was an honor. And I couldn't be more excited about people getting to see it.
What's the hardest part about making a documentary like this? Is it kind of scheduling these interviews? Is it, the editing process? Is it figuring out the story? What exactly was the toughest part in your eyes?
Yeah, man. Hey, this is my first go at like a feature film, directing a feature film, and it was in the middle of a pandemic. So we got a man in a van, Daniel Chipman was a cameraman that we literally sent him like a lone wolf in the night, cross country, collecting all these interviews. We had a lot of failed opportunities with people, not showing up or canceling last minute. We sent him to a state, Arizona. Oh no, he can't do it. I'm sitting here. Oh great. Well, on to California you go.
Right.
But the editing process was insane. It took many, many, many hours and lots of headaches. But in the end, it was worth it, man. It came together. There were a lot of surprises in the editing room that came together that were pretty magical, that we're thankful for. But yeah, man, to answer your question, it's just the unpredictability of things working and having to adjust on the fly and stay positive and see it through to the end.
Yeah, people don't. So I professionally, I edit for ESPN. I know Jared's done a bunch of editing too in his day job. People don't realize, I mean, TV is different. Sometimes I'm editing stuff that's going to be a 45-second, minute and a half feature, and we've got hours and hours of footage that we have to cut down. You're talking, I mean, a 90-minute documentary that you were shooting for months and months. So like you have so much good content. You can't put it all in there though. So you gotta leave a lot of good stuff out. It's a process that if you've never done it, people, maybe don't appreciate what goes into it.
Yeah, man, you're right. We had a lot of golden material that didn't make it in because it messed with the flow. It didn't make sense, but it was such good stuff. But you're right, man. Yeah, a lot of people have no idea the tedious, the amount of work that is put in the editing room, as you know.
Yeah, it's fun though. I mean, I love it. I mean, just hearing you talk about it makes me like, I want to edit a movie now. I want to get into this, but
yeah, man, it's a blast. It's tough though. We had some moments.
Yeah. So what's the goal? Are you taking it? I know you're premiering at the NCG Theater in Owosso. Are you taking it to some film festivals? Are you hoping win some Academy Awards? Like, what's kind of the goal with it?
Well, so the goal is, it's going to be on Prime Video, and likely Google Play, one other streaming service. But they're going to be pitching it to, like Peacock and like several other. So our goal is for, more major streaming services to pick it up. The dream, obviously Netflix, but they're known for not bringing in material that they didn't produce.
That Adam Sandler didn't shoot.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
You know, these guys talked about the edit, and I echo that. It is so important to edit a nice, tight film, even though you have just much quantity of film. So what's the final length of your doc? And I will say this, I had a chance to watch your trailers. Man, the quality looks fantastic. You have
Yeah.
some great guests you have on, and you know, I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so it's 75 minutes. And our editor and one of our cameramen, Adam Towner, a close friend of mine, you know, he really has an eye for that stuff. And I think that he did a marvelous job on the trailers, editing them. And he edited the documentary. And Dennis Tyrion helped, you know, do with the final sound and just making it tip top in the end in the editing room. You know, it felt like the Avengers assembled on this one. We got some special people, you know, from Tony Horniss's gang and DJ Perry's group with CDI to make this happen. So yeah, man, we're super stoked. We can't wait.
Yeah.
We can't wait for people to see this because there's a lot of information. I think that a lot of people are going to be like me when they watch this and be like, how in the hell did I not know this stuff?
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about Doc.
I have one last question for me. One of the people you did have the opportunity to talk to was legendary wrestling figure, you know, Dan Gable. What was it like just being able to talk to him? I mean, that's been pretty surreal.
Brother, 7th grade, I got a VHS tape of Dan Gable. It was a documentary on the Iowa Hawkeyes, and that got me so yoked up, just so amped. I remember doing push-ups and sit-ups while watching it because I'm like, this dude is just my hero. When I walked in that man's house, you know, I got to tell you, I was nervous. I was like, I'm standing in front of a wrestling legend.
Right.
That dude is intense. I think he's like late 60s, early 70s. I thought that dude was gonna blast double leg me.
Yeah.
He just could not stand still. He was, you know, like kind of in a stance and like, oh yeah, getting so pumped talking about the sport history. It's contagious, and we captured it. You know, we were like, know what? We're just gonna walk in his house with the camera and just roll. We're not gonna do anything fancy, like set him up, get the lighting just right. No, we're gonna roll it and make it raw. And I'm so glad I did that because his personality really shines through. He gives us a tour of his house. And as far as my knowledge, you know, no one's ever like had a tour in Dan Gable's house and got to see training. He's got a room in his basement that he shows us. That's literally like the tiniest padded room. It looks like some place you'd put like an insane asylum person where he wrestled. And he tells the story about how he's got Olympic champs' heads like busting into the walls and making big giant holes and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, man, that was a surreal experience getting to spend that day with him and shoot his interview and get to know him a little bit. That guy is a beast. He's just a monster and a great guy.
Yeah. What do you think the natural, just hearing you talk about it and the little bit that I follow, I'm a very casual like UFC fan. I used to follow pro wrestling, WWE, but you know, like as a kid, it started to tail off after a little while.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why is there like a natural progression, I guess, for college wrestlers to go fight in the UFC? Just because you've got that background, you've got that combat mindset, or
you know, Joe Rogan said there's such an amazing clip that I see my wrestling buddies post all the time about Joe Rogan talking about how wrestling is the #1 ingredient in MMA for success because you can take the fight wherever you want it. You know, it's level changes. It favor wrestlers because boxers will drop their hands anticipating the wrestler shooting in. And then overhand rights become effective for wrestlers. So that is a huge advantage. They can take the fight where they want it, like Khabib Nurmagomedov. You ever watch that guy fight? That dude controls the octagon wherever the heck he wants it the fight to go. And secondly, it's the mindset. You know, we grind. Wrestlers are such grinders. You know, the weight cuts, the grinding for hours in the room, and you know, put all that training in 15 to 25 minutes, you got a savage that can go and go.
Right.
So
Man, I remember just the way I played basketball my whole life, but a bunch of my good friends, I mean, Curran, Curran had a good wrestling program.
Oh, yeah.
And so a bunch of my friends wrestled. So, I mean, I love talking to them about wrestling because they sound like you. I mean, they get me fired up and make me wish I would have wrestled or something. But
Oh,
No,
love
you
it.
don't.
no, yeah, actually, I was fine playing basketball. I was fine playing
Yeah.
basketball. The weight cutting, man. I remember there would be days I'd be smashing like mozzarella sticks and chicken fingers and pizza at lunch, and they're eating like
An
a
apple.
handful of popcorn and a little
Yeah.
bit of Jello.
Spitting in a
But then
cup.
they're going into the locker room with garbage bags on and jumping rope in the showers, and I was just
I
like,
know, man.
I'm good, man. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
chug some water and go practice some basketball. Like,
Right.
man, you wrestlers, you got a different mindset, man.
Yeah,
Wrestlers.
it's crazy, man. I've questioned myself a few times during college, like, what the hell? Why didn't I play golf or like something that's like, why can't I just like
Yeah.
something that's not so horrible on the body and the mind? And yeah, it's the discipline, you know,
Right.
that transfers over to MMA. You know, because you go to parties, you go to family gatherings, you know, you got old grandma or Aunt Betty or, you know, Uncle Bob being like, hey, eat this pizza, or oh, we got some pecan pie. You know, oh, have a beer. No, I can't. I gotta
Can't do it.
What do you want from me? You're killing me.
All right. It's
Well,
awesome.
Curran, somewhere down the road, love to get you back on, talk about your wrestling career. But we're here promoting your new documentary, For the Love of the Catch. Before we let you go, tell our listeners the best way to check it out. Maybe come to the premiere at NCG. Give us the final story here on how to catch this great flick.
Absolutely. So Saturday, October 1st, the first showing is at the NCG Theater in Owosso, 6 p.m. Following that show, likely we're going to be venturing on over to Roma's for a little afterglow, some drinks,
Nice.
talking, food. And then the second showing is at 8:15 p.m. There are two shows. The ticket link should be up this week, and you'll find the event page on my Facebook page, Curran the Giant Slayer Jacobs. Check it out, and yeah, man, would love to see you all there. You know, even if you're not an MMA fan or wrestling fan, it's a fun documentary. It's family friendly, and the history told is incredible and will be enjoyed by anyone, fan or not.
Yeah.
Well, another local kid done good. Keep it up, Curran. I mean, we're looking forward to checking out the documentary. We're looking forward to seeing some of your future stuff down the road, and appreciate you taking time out to join us here at 3 Point Podcast.
You guys, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me on. You guys are awesome.
Bet,
Thank
buddy.
you.